Please read on Candace's timeline. She has August 24th to August 27th. Operation Valhalla takes place with citizens and military. Yeah, that's interesting in light of the airplane October 25th and 26th. That is interesting. And in light of Brian Harpole saying well, this is a good comment, Grizzly. I had to pay you $10 for that. This is a good comment. Especially in light of Brian Harpole saying that the planning for the Charlie Kirk event began in earnest on August 24th. So you got August 24th to 27th bookending a flight with a SAM 000 on August 25th and 26th. And Brian Harpole saying the planning began in earnest on August 24th. I'll see you in Valhalla, my Christian brother.
Watch how you talk when you talk about me, 'cause I'll come and take your life away. Many men, many, 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 many men wish death upon me. Lord, I don't cry no more. Don't look to the sky no more. Have mercy on me.
I don't know how long this video is going to be, but I'm going to let Baron Coleman take it away because last night's episode was on point. Absolutely 100% on point. And to summarize up where we're at, I mean, there's a lot of information that's out already, which I will make a video eventually just to put everything all together. But his opening statement, his intro last night is where we're at. And with that being said, I'm going to let him take it away. And I hope he's okay with me putting his stuff in my video. But I don't want to pretend that I've been following along, piecing things together, not making videos, just as alongside them, figuring things out that they haven't figured out yet, which is why I want to start putting my input in. As you could tell from last night, I was able to get a super chat on there just because I'm tying these things together, and I don't have the research that they've got, but I'm pulling things and connecting the dots that they haven't connected yet, and that's why I want to start kind of helping out as much as I can to fill in the blanks, because we all got lives outside of this investigation, which is extremely important that this investigation gets done and gets done in a timely manner. Also, I'm new to this, so I cannot articulate as well as Baron Coleman does. So with that being said, here's Baron Coleman.
Let's get to it. It's been 3 months to the day since Charlie Kirk lost his life at Utah Valley University. Since that time, two major things have happened. First, the federal government, Utah police, and TPUSA employees have engaged in one of the most intense propaganda campaigns in recent memory. The propaganda campaign has served up a steady diet of nonsensical explanations for how Charlie Kirk died. We're being asked to believe, among other absurdities, that the alleged shooter was a 22-year-old gay man living with a furry who was transitioning from male to female. We're told it was a total coincidence that this alleged instance of pro-trans violence came at the exact moment that noted Charlie Kirk opponent Hunter Kozak was asking a question about pro-trans violence. We're also being asked to believe the shooter carried the rifle to campus on the morning of the shooting in skinny jeans. In support of that absurd position, we're shown a grainy image of a man limping down the street. That he happened to be limping next to Phil Lyman's car and what appears to be a late model 4 is just another coincidence. As is the fact that Phil Lyman was in the house where the footage was taken. It's weird, huh? And on the topic of long rifles and skinny jeans, they refused to date to release video of the alleged shooter climbing the stairs, opting instead to release a few still pictures of his ascent. Skeptics noted the still pictures show him comfortably bending both knees in different images, contrasting sharply with the video allegedly of the same individual limping just before he reaches campus. We're shown pictures of the alleged shooter in at least 3 different outfits before the shooting. No explanation has been offered for the 3 changes of clothes in 3 hours. Governor of Utah, flanked by FBI Director Kash Patel, told us the shooter changed his clothes on the roof before taking the shot. I have that video. I'll play it tonight. Again, no explanation has been offered for this fourth set of clothing. We're told the shooter assembled the rifle on the roof before taking the shot. They pinky swear it's true, even if they refuse to release video of him changing clothes or taking the shot. We're told a .30-06 rifle was found near the scene. The rifle allegedly contained inscribed bullet casings with pro-trans and leftist memes. The New York Post released an image of a .30-06 that the world assumed was the murder weapon. It later turned out it was not the 100-year-old family heirloom turned alleged murder weapon, but a modern version of a .30-06, complete with a synthetic stock and a different optic. In other words, the picture the New York Post released looked absolutely nothing like the one allegedly used by the shooter. But that pesky difference didn't stop Tyler Robinson's dad from immediately suspecting his son, who had inherited a completely different .30-06 from his granddad. We're told Charlie had the neck of Superman. His vertebrae were like titanium. They stopped a .30-06 in a manner the surgeon could only conclude was a miracle, an actual miracle, a sign from heaven itself that Charlie's final act would be heroically saving the lives of those behind him. And the miracle was needed, of course, because as the surgeon himself noted, .30-06 stopped by so little tissue. The surgeon told the TPUSA team that rounds of this caliber routinely take down multiple elk, blasting through many feet of dense muscle, tissue, and bones before leaving a gaping exit hole in the back of elk and moose. But not Charlie. The bullet arrived at the very few inches of incredibly soft tissue on the side of Charlie's neck, and then the bullet miraculously lost all force. It took a sharp left turn, then went straight up, then went straight down, finally lodging just beneath his skin. A miracle indeed. We're told Charlie's chief of staff, Mikey McCoy, who turned and walked away just under a second after the sound of the gunshot, was amazingly cool in the moment. A general. So cool, he called 3 people in under 90 seconds. He arrived at the hospital and took complete command, ordered private jets to go pick up friends and family. He talked to doctors and conveyed critical information to Charlie's wife. He even dialed up the vice president of the United States for some reason. We'll talk about it more tonight. But there he was, General Mikey McCoy. We're told TPUSA spokesman Andrew Colvett released text messages from 2 days before Charlie passed, where Charlie says Jewish donors play into all the stereotypes, leaving him no choice but to leave the pro-Israeli cause. But we're also told Charlie didn't mean it. We're told Andrew Colvett turned those texts over to the feds in the wake of Charlie's death because Colvett found them relevant, but we're not told why. We know why. And all of that is the first part of the propaganda campaign. It's a relentless assault on common sense and common decency. But here's part 2. It's tried and true. We've seen it perfected in big stories like the JFK assassination, 9/11, and COVID. You either accept the official narrative or you get called stupid, evil, crazy, or worse. It starts off with simple name calling. If you don't get the message, it escalates quickly. Your morals get questioned. You get accused of trying to hurt people. You get accused of trying to sabotage good things. You are working for Satan himself. Words are put in your mouth. They will stop at nothing to destroy you, and they'll blame you for it happening. In other words, the beatings will continue until morale improves. They owe you nothing, and you'll like it. You can accept the official narrative or not, but what you cannot do is question it. If you don't believe it, shut your mouth, go away, do something else. But do not speak against the official narrative or else. Well, I'm not buying it. I'm not buying any of it. I have almost zero doubt that Tyler Robinson was tangentially involved and thought he was part of a plan to neutralize Charlie Kirk. I'll admit that. But I'm not for 1 second buying that he planned and executed this alone. And the more information that comes out, the more it becomes obvious to me that the story doesn't add up. There's the pic of the person they intended to frame as the shooter in a full sprint, less than 3 seconds after the gunshot. From prone position with an optic in his eye and his finger on the trigger, balancing the gun in his hand because he has no tripod and no sandbags, to a full sprint with the alleged rifle carefully wrapped in a towel in under 3 seconds. I don't buy it. I don't think they intended us to see that footage of him in a full sprint so quickly. Then there's the video of Tyler Robinson, what looks like a rendezvous several miles away, just 15 minutes after the shooting. He pulls into a parking lot, calmly waits for a full minute for a white SUV to pull up behind him, and then they drive off together. It's clear those two cars were together, the alleged shooter in the white SUV. And there may also have been a third vehicle, another SUV that drove off with them. I don't think they intended for us to see that footage either. Then there's Tyler Robinson calmly downing some chicken tendies and washing it down with a soda at Dairy Queen on the other side of town 6 or so hours after the shooting. It was weird. And I don't think they intended for us to see that footage either. There's also the footage of Mikey McCoy, the weird sermons from his father, Rob McCoy, the absolutely insane statements by Blake Neff, trying in vain to shut down criticism. His insane statements, Neff's anyway, by the way, seem on their face to contradict each other, but that's somehow a really small detail in this story. And then there was yesterday. In my opinion, Candace Owens dropped a nuke yesterday. And for those who didn't catch it, I wrote all this before I saw her show today, so bear with me. I'm going to build on what she said. I go way beyond what she said today, but some of this is going to be recapped for those of you who watched her a couple hours ago. For those who didn't catch it, an alleged source contacted her with what seemed, on its face, like a fairly believable series of events leading to the discovery of a meeting one day before the Charlie Kirk neutralization. That meeting included, if the source can be believed, high-level military officials in a small military base in southern Arizona. That might be relatively unremarkable, but for the nuke itself. The alleged source supposedly said Brian Harpole was in the meeting. Reading between the lines of Candace's show yesterday, the alleged source supposedly said he recognized multiple people at the meeting or in the area who were on the stage at the Charlie Kirk Memorial. In other words, the memorial jarred his memory of people he had seen in Arizona. That she said he mentioned a woman, that Candace said he mentioned a woman with a special forces operator get in a green truck and drive away from the base hotel added intrigue, if for no other reason than we all have an idea of who he might have seen. He said later he recognized some of those people. There are only so many women even remotely involved in this story. And we'll stand by to see if Candace provides more information on this woman or any of the other individuals he supposedly recognized. If I was a betting man, I would wager on a few names I know. Well, tonight I can confirm that following Candace's show last night, I started some research, and what I found floored me. I don't know who contacted Candace or whether he's credible, but I do know this. If that man or anyone else is running an op on Candace and trying to trap her into a story that doesn't add up, ultimately to destroy her reputation, they planted a key piece of evidence into the story that lends a lot of credibility to what he said. That key piece of evidence is a jet that's used exclusively by very few people. And those people are presidential family members, cabinet officials, and military generals at the Pentagon, such as the Joint Chiefs of Staff. And that jet was present at the location of the supposedly high-level meeting the day before Charlie was killed. I was watching Candace Owens this afternoon, so I know she covered the presence of the jet. I'm going to go further with that story, but I'll recap for those who aren't aware of the story, and I'll add considerable detail that she did not report. The flight was a special air mission flight. The United States Air Force Special Air Mission exists to provide safe and secure transport to our country's highest-ranking individuals. Think president, vice president, presidential and vice presidential family members, cabinet members, occasionally congressional delegations. That particular jet was present at the location of this alleged meeting on the morning of September 9th, one day before the neutralization of Charlie Kirk. And that jet had recently flown, for example, President Trump's family back from their summer home in Bedminster, New Jersey. I'll show you that in a minute. That flight was after the Independence Day holiday. So this is an important jet. I'm going to give you a quick breakdown of what are known SAM call signs, SAM, Special Air Mission call signs, because it's going to be important as we work our way through the flight logs of this jet. A Special Air Mission call sign is a designation for airlift missions carrying the president, vice president, first lady, cabinet secretaries, or other VIPs designated by the White House. When the president is on board, the radio call sign instantly becomes Air Force One. But the telephonic ATC call sign on the flight plans and on radar scopes is filed as SAM number. We'll talk about that in a second. When the vice president is on board, the aircraft becomes Air Force Two, but again, the filed call sign is normally SAM number. The same SAM call sign series is used for other cabinet members, like Secretary of State, Secretary of Defense, and the First Lady when they travel on jets. And sometimes you'll see a rare call sign, very rare call sign. It's SAM 000. Sometimes you'll see a 001 or a 002. But when you see zeros leading the call sign, particularly 000, that call sign is highly sensitive. It's when the White House or the U.S. Air Force want to be deliberately vague about the exact passenger manifest. It's commonly, almost exclusively associated with the president or vice president. But zero-filled numbers like 001, 002 are favored for the highest priority passengers because they're easy to remember and they stand out. Here are some real-world examples of SAM 00 call signs, 000 call signs. January of 2021. The flights were SAM 000. Those were the actual aircraft that flew President Biden immediately after inauguration when Air Force One was still being reconfigured. December of 2022. SAM 000 was used for Kyiv, Ukraine. Many trips by Vice President Harris to hot zones also show up as SAM 000. If you see a flight with a call sign SAM 000 on Flight Radar 24, ADS-B Exchange, it's almost certainly a U.S. airport VIP transport carrying the president or vice president. Sometimes, very rarely, senior cabinet level officials will get the SAM 000 designation. But usually it's a president or a vice president. On August 25th, 2025, and I'm going to show you all this in a second, but I want to go through it in narrative form. And after I go through it in narrative form, I will go back and pull up the flight logs, and you can go through it with me together so you know I'm not BSing you. On August 25th, 2025, this is 15, 16 days before Charlie Kirk was killed, there was a flight on this jet from D.C. to Colorado Springs with that important and rarely used call sign, SAM 000. And remember, that's the call sign typically reserved for highly sensitive flights commonly associated with the movements of the president or vice president of the United States. The 000, you'll recall, is favored for the highest priority individuals because they stand out. I looked at the daily itineraries of President Donald J. Trump and Vice President J.D. Vance for the day of August 25, 2025. President Trump was in Washington, D.C. He was seen on camera at 10 a.m. signing executive orders. At 12:15 p.m., he hosted the president of South Korea at the White House. It's safe to say, and he was also seen in the White House on August 26, meaning he didn't leave. It's safe to say that SAM 000 was not Donald Trump on August 25, 2025. J.D. Vance's schedule is unavailable for that day. He is seen on camera in the Oval Office just before noon that day talking about crime in Democrat-run cities, but I could find no more information on what he did after that meeting. For what it's worth, the SAM 000 flight on August 25 took off from Joint Base Andrews at 1:39 p.m., roughly 90 minutes after President Vance was seen, Vice President Vance, excuse me. Might be getting ahead of myself. After Vice President Vance was seen talking in the Oval Office. I could find no news regarding his whereabouts on August 26th. Regardless, whoever flew under this incredibly highly sensitive call sign, SAM 000, on August 25, flew from Joint Base Andrews to Colorado Springs, home of the 10th Special Forces Group. It stayed in Colorado Springs for 3 hours, and then it flew to Las Vegas, arriving there at 4:48 p.m. local time. Las Vegas, you'll recall, is the home of FBI Director Kash Patel. At that point, the SAM 000 sign goes cold. I can find no SAM 000 leaving Las Vegas. The following day, August 26, this jet, now under a reach call sign, repositions from Las Vegas to Colorado Springs. Upon leaving Colorado Springs the second time, this time to head back to Joint Base Andrews in Washington, D.C., the call sign has been changed from SAM 000 to SAM 658. The SAM call signs indicates it's still a highly important call sign, but it's not as high profile of an individual as the SAM 000 flight the day before. I mention this specific flight in what you probably feel is excruciating detail for a particular reason. Someone incredibly important was in Colorado Springs that day, August 25th. At this point, I want to flash back to the Sean Ryan show, where he interviewed Charlie Kirk's chief security contractor, Brian Harpole. Sean Ryan asks Brian Harpole how many days before the September 10th event in Orem, Utah, was his team on the ground to prepare. Brian Harpole tosses a little word salad and ultimately comes up with a date of when the intense preparation began for the September 10th date in Orem, Utah. I'll play it and you can listen to it. The date may sound familiar. This is where I could use a producer. Where are we here? Oh, gosh. See, this is why I need a producer. That was going to be a slick transition. Why is it not coming up? Here we go. Here we go. All right, I'm going to play about a minute of this. You can hear the date where the intense preparation begins.
We generally, the permitting process and all that goes on behind the scenes. And then there's a questionnaires that are filled out that there was a lot of busy work. And then so, kind of like in the military, what you did, we create forms that, hey, let's get this information up front. Mm-hmm. And so that we have a duplication process so that we can confirm it. And so we started our first, before that one, the 24th of the month prior.
They started their preparation the 24th of the month prior. Recall, the date August 25th was the date we were looking at. The planning, he says, started on August 24th, the day before the SAM 000 flight arrives in Colorado Springs. I'll explain to you in a moment why Colorado Springs is relevant. But Brian Harpole's recollection is the day the prep started in earnest for the Charlie Kirk event was one day before the incredibly highly ranked official flew from D.C. to Colorado Springs under call sign SAM 000. Let me look something up real quick.
Now, what I had interjected in towards the end of his video last night, there's also the interesting detail that French Foreign Legion is in California doing a joint exercise before Operation Valhalla takes place. So now you got French Foreign Legion on the ground already in the States. Candace was concerned or questioning if they also, after finishing that exercise, went on to do the other one that took place from the 24th, August the 24th to August 27th, named Operation Valhalla, which is an interesting term that's been thrown. I mean, I know what that means, but the name itself is thrown around, but that's taking place from the time that the prep starts, supposedly on August 24th. So you got French Foreign Legion in the States. You got an Operation Valhalla taking place starting on the day that Harpole claims they started their prep work. You got these planes going back and forth. I also want to say, as much as coincidences do happen, during that interview with Patel, when they came out and said that they have him in custody, and they've, after 33 hours, which I will also be adding in at the end of this, 33 hours, which is not even the exact time. That's not even the correct amount of time it took from the event, or even from the beginning of the investigation to getting him in custody. That's not even a correct amount of time. But the number 33 is thrown around in your face a lot. Almost like hiding in plain sight kind of deal. Just like there was 33 cases of COVID confirmed in all these different states and cities, either at the same time or around the same time. The number 33 is almost thrown around all the time as a call sign. That happens in the same interview or public statement where he says, I'll see you in Valhalla. Operation Valhalla.
Yeah, August 24th was a Sunday. So he says the prep started on Sunday. Here's why Colorado Springs matters. Colorado Springs matters. We discussed how the Special Air Mission Flight SAM 702 was on the ground at Fort Huachuca at the same time Candace's alleged witness supposedly saw the mass gathering of high brass meeting in secret on the morning of September 9th. But what about the day or two before that meeting? Where was this jet? Well, the short answer is it was in Colorado Springs. It had come from Joint Base Andrews to Colorado Springs and then flew from Tucson, which is just a few minutes from Fort Huachuca. From Tucson, it flew to Fort Huachuca. The reason this is important is there are only two times I could find in recent history that particular jet had flown from Colorado Springs from anywhere other than Joint Base Andrews. Once was to Las Vegas and back the day after Brian Harpole says the planning began in earnest on the Orem, Utah Charlie Kirk event. And recall that flight to Las Vegas had a super VIP SAM 000 sign. The other was the day before the meeting with the top brass, at least according to Candace's alleged witness, and supposedly in that meeting, Brian Harpole. So with that background, let's take a look now at some of the details I've been discussing. It's my sincere hope you have enough information now to start making sense of everything I'm about to throw at you, because it's going to be dense. So let me get into it. Does anyone need a bathroom break? No, that's what I say at work when we have a big intro. All right, this is the flight log. This is the flight log for, it's this one. I have 3 different versions of this in case one of them crashed. I wouldn't get caught having to try to pull it back up live. So this is the flight log. Trying to make it bigger on my screen. There we go. For this important jet, if you've ever wanted to know what these jets look like, they look like that jet up there at the top. This looks like, it kind of looks like Air Force One, right? It's got the same color scheme. It's painted like that. It's just a smaller version, but it's a very high-end jet. A very, very high-end jet. My measly subscription to Flight Radar 24 only goes back to June, but it gives us 6 months of data. 6 months of data to work with. I'm going to go to search by the word Colorado so you can see there's 16 entries of the word Colorado. They start there on August 25th. That's the SAM 000 flight I was talking about. You see that? That's that SAM 000. You almost never see a SAM 000 in the wild. You have to be looking for it. You rarely trip over one. It's the president or vice president almost every time. Almost every time. Occasionally, maybe it's someone else. But it's almost always the vice president or the president. So we have a flight here from Joint Base Andrews that lands in Colorado Springs, local time 2:28. It's on the ground till 5:20. It flies to Las Vegas and lands there at 4:48 Las Vegas time. From there, you see this transponder goes off on this reach flight. Now, a reach flight is just, it could be a lot of things. So a SAM flight's a special air mission. We're flying really highly sensitive people around. That's an SAM call sign. This RCH, this reach call sign, can be cargo. It could be less important people, like lieutenant colonels, for example, operators. It could be, you're flying an important diplomatic packet somewhere, right? That's a reach call sign. So it could be a repositioning flight. And there's one more call sign called a Venus call sign. If we come across one, I'll show it to you. So this goes from Las Vegas, and then the transponder goes off. We see the flight left Las Vegas at 3:14 p.m. We don't know what time it landed. We know it landed in Colorado Springs because, boom, then when it takes off, it's in Colorado Springs. But for whatever reason, it killed the transponder on that repositioning flight. So what you're dealing with here is you've got a Camp Springs to Colorado Springs carrying incredibly highly ranked people. Incredibly highly ranked people. And then you have a Colorado Springs to Las Vegas flight. Hold on. I'm trying to fix the skip real quick. Then you have this Colorado Springs flight. Again, SAM 000. And then from Las Vegas, it comes back to Colorado Springs, picks up somebody, because now it's still a SAM flight, and flies back to Joint Base Andrews. That's the August 25th, August 26th. Now, you will see, I'm going to back it back out here. You will see that Colorado Springs comes up again, but it always is a direct flight to or from Camp Springs. So you've got Camp Springs, Colorado Springs. You've got other ones here. Colorado Springs, Camp Springs. You got one there to Anchorage, but Colorado Springs back to Camp Springs. Camp Springs, Colorado Springs. So who was on that Anchorage flight? Yeah, that's a reach flight. That's not a SAM flight. So when it's carrying someone, it's always that one thing. Now, the Colorado Springs, so they fly in August 25th, again, the Monday that Brian Harpole says they start planning the event in earnest in Orem, Utah, at Utah Valley University, Charlie Kirk's event. They fly into Colorado Springs that day, the day after. They do something there for 2 or 3 hours. They head to Las Vegas. They're there for a while. Again, Las Vegas, the home of Kash Patel. Whoever was the SAM flies to Las Vegas, and then they go back to Colorado Springs at some point, and then from Colorado Springs back to Joint Base Andrews on August 26th. The next time you see this flight in Colorado Springs is this trip leading up to the big meeting. So let me zoom in on it. This is your big meeting right here. This is your big meeting at Fort Huachuca. I think I'm pronouncing that right. So this series of flights starts on September 7th, 3 days before the Charlie Kirk assassination, 2 days before the meeting in Fort Huachuca. It flies from Joint Base Andrews to Colorado Springs. It flies from Colorado Springs to Tucson. Again, this is close to Fort Huachuca. It flies from Tucson into presumably Fort Huachuca because it kills the transponder, but then the next day it's leaving Fort Huachuca. So whoever came in on this flight arrived probably, since Tucson's just a few minutes away, around 4:30 or 5 o'clock the day before the big meeting. So what do we know about the day before the big meeting? Well, that's when Candace's source allegedly spots that night, September 8th, spots the pretty girl and the special forces operator hanging around the hotel and then driving off in a green truck. That was the night of September 8th. This flight would have been at Fort Huachuca at that time. It would have been at Fort Huachuca at that time. Now, keep in mind, where did it come from? Colorado Springs to Tucson, Tucson to Fort Huachuca. What's in Colorado Springs? The 10th Special Forces. They bring in, they come from a base with Special Forces into Fort Huachuca, right here, this dot dash. Consider that Fort Huachuca, because otherwise, how does the plane get to Fort Huachuca? It's obviously this. So it goes from Colorado Springs, quick detour into Tucson, probably to pick someone up or something up. No other reason to stop there. It's literally on the other side of town. And then into Fort Huachuca. And again, this is a home of special operators. This is a home of a lot of top brass. And then from Tucson to Fort Huachuca, and then it leaves Fort Huachuca this time at 11:43 a.m., and it heads to El Paso, and then El Paso back to Camp Springs. Camp Springs, of course, being Joint Base Andrews. So that is the sum total of where we're headed. I'm not drawing the conclusion of who was on the Sam 000 flight. I'll leave that for you if you want to. I have my suspicion. On totally unrelated matters, one of the very first people that Mikey McCoy sought to call in the immediate aftermath of the Charlie Kirk assassination was Vice President J.D. Vance. I always wondered why that call. That call never made sense to me. That call never made sense to me. You just watched your boss die gruesomely. You turned around and walked off. You called your wife. You called your dad. You called his wife. And you called the Vice President of the United States? And say, well, they were friends. Well, Charlie had a lot of friends. Charlie had a lot of friends. I mean, there were probably hundreds of people that thought Charlie was their friend. Why the vice president? And why the vice president come pick him up and take him back to Arizona? They have ways to transport bodies. I don't know what was taking place in Colorado Springs on August 25th and in Las Vegas on August 26th. But I have my strong suspicions. And if you go back and listen to the Sean Ryan interview with Brian Harpole, he doesn't say we were on the ground in Orem, Utah. He was asked, when did you guys get on the ground? How far ahead of time? And he says, well, we started really planning this in earnest August 24th. That's when we started really digging into this thing. That's when we started doing our preparation, going through our routine. And it just so happens that a Sam 000 call sign is heading into Colorado Springs and then Las Vegas that day, or the next day. And it just so happens that the last place this flight is before the high brass meeting at Fort Huachuca, the last place this flight is in Colorado Springs. When I came across this information, I thought, is this the type of information you just don't share? Like you don't share this? Do you hold on to this? Do you tell your spouse? Do you tell your friends? Do you tell your... Who do you talk to about this? And when Candace started talking about the plane today, I thought, all right, yes, this is going to necessitate a rewrite of my opening. Yes, this is going to necessitate a completely different show for me. But at least I won't have to be the one to point it out. At least I won't have to be the one to raise all these things to the surface and let people consider it, think about it, talk about it. At least someone else can bear the brunt of going to bed tonight having said that it sure looks like someone very high up was in Colorado Springs about the time Brian Harpole starts planning the Charlie Kirk event in Orem, Utah. And then there's a flight from Colorado Springs to Fort Huachuca the day before, 2 days before the Charlie Kirk assassination, where Brian Harpole supposedly was at that meeting. And for those that aren't following, you haven't followed the story closely enough, this is the best way I know how to explain it. The timing of the Brian Harpole, we started this on August 24th, is very coincidental with a plane flying into Colorado Springs that day, where there's a special forces operation. There's a lot of really high breath and ISR stuff up there. And then the next time we see Brian Harpole play a relevant role at least as of yesterday, we learned the next time we think we see, in our opinion, we might see Brian Harpole play a role, it's at a super secret meeting where the plane just arrived from Colorado Springs. For those saying Brian Harpole was in Korea on September 8th and 9th, I don't believe that's accurate. I think he came back on like the 5th or 6th. I'm subject to being fact-checked on that, but I keep seeing that. Now, let me address not Candace. Let me address Erica Kirk today on Fox News. Let me address Erica Kirk today on Fox News. This is the best way I know to say it. I'm going to pull up for you guys the Erica Kirk clip where everybody's acting like she went nuclear and just destroyed Candace and destroyed all the people. I want to pull that up, and I want to point out something interesting about the timeline we're talking about, because I think this is an important fact that we all have to consider when we're thinking about whether or not this is genuine. What we're seeing here with Erica Kirk is genuine. We need to consider that. It may not be. But I want to play the clip first, and then I want to point out the timing of when she finally decides to say all this, because she's been very mum. Erica Kirk, for 89 days after the purported assassination, after the assassination of her husband, purportedly by Tyler Robinson, has allowed Candace Owens and others, many others, to speculate on a wide variety of reasons why Charlie Kirk might have been assassinated, and by whom. The official narrative, of course, that I think is supported by Erica Kirk, at least she seems to suggest it, is that Tyler Robinson did, in fact, plan and execute this almost entirely alone. He might have had some friends from some help from like furries or people on a Discord chat or whatever. But it seems to be that she's buying the official narrative, or at least she's pushing the official narrative. Let's say that. She's pushing the official narrative. So let me play this real quick, and then I want to point out what I think is interesting about the timing of this.
Come after me, call me names, I don't care. Call me what you want, go down that rabbit hole, whatever. But when you go after my family, my Turning Point USA family, my Charlie Kirk Show family, when you go after the people that I love, and you're making hundreds and thousands of dollars every single episode, going after the people that I love because somehow they're in on this, no.
You know, I have to say it. I've never seen you like this.
No, this is righteous anger because this is not okay. It's not healthy. This is a mind virus. Yes, I believe in our judicial system. I do. We have a hell of a team working on this. Excuse my French. But this is not okay.
So you want to put these people back in the box where they've been creeping from?
I don't care what box you're in. But just know that your words are very powerful, and we are human. My team are not machines, and they're not robots. They are human. We have more death threats on our team and our side than I have ever seen. I have kidnapping threats. You name it, we have it. And my poor team is exhausted. And every time they bring this back up, what are we supposed to do? Relive that trauma all over again? They watched my husband get murdered. I have no idea how I would have reacted if I was there that day. And thank the good Lord that I did not have to see that happen. But my team, they are rocked to the core. So why every single day do they have to be dragged through the mud, analyzed, hyper-analyzed?
You know,
sit in a corner and cry and be in fetal position. This is a duty to my husband, and it's an absolute honor, and I will never back down. And so my message to them is to stop.
Her message is to stop. Remember months ago when Candace first started investigating, and others started investigating this. I don't want to say she alone is investigating it, but she's done a lot of the heavy lifting. Remember, she said there are only two people who could get me to stop. It was her husband, George Farmer, Candace's husband, and it was Erica Kirk. Those were the only two people she said who could get her to stop. And Erica Kirk wanted the credit of acting, in my opinion. This is you guys have been trying to get me to turn on her the whole time. This is as close as you're going to get. Erica Kirk wanted the credit of saying, I'm confident. Go ahead. Look around. I know TPA USA had nothing to do with it. I know nobody I knew had anything to do with it. I'm pretty confident this was a trans furry community. One of them got a little out of control. And they assassinated my husband. She wanted that credit. Until Candace came out and said, hey, wait a minute. I've got a source here who may have seen Brian Harpole on the ground. And there may have been a woman on the ground at Fort Huachuca the day or two before Charlie Kirk was assassinated. Well, now all of a sudden she has to stop. Now all of a sudden we're doing the Fox News tour. She was on every show of Fox News, I think. I'm pretty confident Erica Kirk was on every single show. In every single show, she had this righteous anger routine she was running. Every single show, she had this, I gotta stop. That's not fair. You're harming people. You know what you could do? Just release evidence that shows it's indisputable that everybody's wrong. If you show me a video that proves everything I believe is inaccurate and Tyler Robinson actually did plan and execute this thing, I'll go away. I'll go away tomorrow.
I don't normally like to do what I just did, which is putting a good chunk of someone's full episode on, but it is well articulated, and I don't want to pretend that this was my voice, because I did piece it together, but if you have any doubts or want the truth, never, ever let someone tell you what the facts are without presenting evidence. That is how trials are 100% fairly done. Any investigation that's fairly done is with evidence, with fact, not trust me. But the whole FBI narrative, the whole narrative that they've been telling us, the whole story, the whole investigation that the officials have been telling us is not only bizarre, but on top of it, there's indisputable facts that completely obliterate the narrative. There's the flights. There's video evidence. There's the fact that they're hiding, they're silencing, gag orders. I mean, come on. When they are scrambling to shut people up and discredit them and smearing, that's when you know to pay attention. When they are freaking the fuck out and they want to smear someone, that's when you start paying attention. That's when you start doing your own digging. And if you don't have the time to do the digging, there is a bunch of fucking geniuses that have been doing the digging for you. And you don't have to take their word for it. They show receipts. They give you the evidence. They give you the evidence. You got Baron Coleman, who stumbled upon the Google trends. And because of that, he has gotten so invested that he's finding shit out and he's connecting the dots. You got Candace Owens since day fucking one with her insider sources and with her previous no. And the fact that she's fucking close with Charlie has been doing the investigation since day one with receipts. And if you want to say that she's capitalizing on it, that's why she's spacing out her evidence. The reason being is a smart tactic to get people to lie and expose themselves. You bait, you have them lie, then you throw the evidence in their face to show them that they're lying. If you put it all out there, That gives the opposing side everything that they need to prep and lie. When they don't know what you got, they start lying. You got Ian Carroll, who fucking brainiac, dude. This kid, or he might be the same age as me. I don't know. Genius. I mean, genius. He goes deep diving to the fucking history of the Rothschilds. He's a guy who started out just doing research and to find out who the fuck owns everything. What's healthy, what's not. They're putting out the Buyer app. I'm not sponsored, but fucking download it, because I just downloaded it that's a lie. I tried downloading a couple days ago, and that's when I found out it hasn't been out yet. But then I just saw, I think when I tuned into his live yesterday for a bit, they said that it's officially out now. And if you do download it and there's bugs, do not go leave a bad review. They have a Discord. They're willing to fix bugs. Go to their Discord, drop in information. Candace and Baron both have emails if you have information. I'm not quite there yet. But you can leave a comment on my videos, because there is no comments on my videos right now. So if you're seeing this, thank you. And share the videos. But go watch Baron Coleman. Go watch Candace Owen. Go watch Valhalla VFT. There are some things I don't agree with Valhalla, but he was someone that was standing up. I mean, he wasn't about this shit. And then he looked into it, he's like, oh, fuck. They are fucking lying about the narrative. He and a couple other special operators, or retired special operators, who have channels, have been doing amazing work on ballistics. They are the reason why the ballistics disprove the narrative. And I know there's a couple other guys I don't really watch, but I've seen them be cited by Baron or Ian, or which is Coach Collins. I've seen some clips of Coach Collins, actually. Just started seeing them recently pop up on my feed. You've also got Jesse on Fire, who's been doing some work on this. You've got Wolves of Finance, or I think that's how their name of their channel. I've seen their stuff since day one. Great stuff. Go watch these people's things. I'm going to try to put myself out there now. I'm going to start breaking down some old videos that are out there on the internet, like Sean Ryan. I put a little teaser, rough edited. I mean, there's no editing in it. There's nothing on it yet. And I'm debating on whether or not I'm going to. I just want the information out there. And I'm a one-man team, and I'm doing all of this on one device, recording and editing. So I got to kind of weigh the options on, do I take an entire day and put it out late, or do I just throw it out there and then edit it eventually and then clean it up and repost it? But I'm about to do a whole breakdown of a full breakdown of the Harpool and Sean Ryan interview, because there's a lot of stuff in there that Valhalla and everybody else is redigging up, and I thought I was the only one that noticed this stuff. And as I was starting to break down and take notes, they started putting their videos out, but they're missing a couple of things that I noticed, so that's why I was going to do my own video. So stay tuned for that. I'm going to try to get that out tonight. I know I'm posting like 3 or 4 videos today, but I was able to get that super chat out onto Baron Coleman's thing, and I figured that might be able to get enough exposure for myself for things to start getting seen. So I want to throw it all out there, because I don't want to withhold anything. Right now, time is the essence. I don't think Tyler Robinson's 100% innocent, but he's definitely a fucking patsy. If he's involved, at least. He's definitely a fucking patsy. So we need to get the right people, no matter who the fuck it is. So with that being said, this is going to conclude this video, but stay tuned. because I'm gonna start posting a lot. And I know we don't know, but we know, and we need to let them fucking know that we know, and that we will not continue to let this happen. So, see you in the next one.